This is the Brand Gravity Show, where we explore the intersection between building a brand and psychology. I am your host, psychology-driven brand strategist Kaye Putnam, and I am so excited to bring today's conversation to you. I sit down with my friend, peer collaborator, Corine Pettit, and talk about all things bringing your brand to life on the web and how it's not all about what is pretty. I've had the great honor and privilege of working behind the scenes in my own brand with Corine. So if you have been to the Convert with a Quiz sales page or to the Brand Clarity Collective sales pages, those are directly a reflection of Corine's genius. And she also built all of the brand archetype pages. So resources that you know and love if you've been in my orbit for any length of time. Corine Pettit is a strategic website designer for online service-based entrepreneurs, agencies, and educators who takes a strategy-first approach to web design. After leaving her engineering career in 2016 to go full-time with her website design business, Corine soon realized that many seasoned online entrepreneurs and agencies were desperately in need of a website that actually converts in an era of pretty websites that just collect dust. Through her one-on-one work and white label agency support, Corine has supported entrepreneurs and brands including KayPutnam.com, Utz Pretzels, Haribo, and more than 60 other clients. And when she's not 5 layers deep in all of the strategizing or building new client websites, you'll find her in the mountains, on a lake, or planning her next trip to someplace breathtakingly beautiful in the world. Let's get to the interview.
So my name is Corine Pettit. I am a strategic website designer. I help online service-based entrepreneurs set up their business in a way that's going to make their life have more free time and help their business grow with a website that's strategic. And so what I mean by that is we're helping them create these websites that are this beautiful reflection of who they are and what they do and this amazing service that they bring to the world, but it's also set up in a way that's going to work and get them results. So that's the unique approach that I take that I just feel is like so important, because if you have this beautiful website and it just sits there and collects dust, like what's the point?
Amazing. We're going to have so much fun chatting. Like I am going to say in my intro, we've worked really closely together with my brand and in other projects. Corine taught an amazing guest workshop for the Brand Clarity Collective recently. So we know each other really well, and I'm really excited to geek out about all things websites and branding today. I wanted to start with a little bit of a back and forth. In your eyes, what is the role? This is kind of meta, but what is the role of the website for a brand?
Yeah. So a lot of my clients come to me and they want this website to provide information. They're like, I want my website to be up and be like an online business card. But I believe it should be more than that. Like I want the website to actually do something for the person. I want you to create this website and be so proud of it and love it and have all of the information on it that you want. But I also want it to do something for you. So in my eyes, the website should be like this asset in your business that's working for you in the background. So you set it up in this really intentional way, aligned with your business goals, so that you can just confidently send people to the site and know that the site's doing what it should. So people aren't coming back to you and being like, whoa, what about this? Or what about that? And like, you're having to put in all this extra energy when you could just set up your site in a way to guide people through all the stuff that they need and all the questions that they have and help them decide if they're a fit for you.
Yes, it's such an incredible asset. And it's one that if you do it right, I feel like it's an asset that actually appreciates over time. I think we could throw in a cheesy real estate analogy here, but it's one that instead of just you doing it once and then it's like disappearing into the ether, which is my irk with a lot of social media stuff that brands focus on. Your website is something that continues to act as a system or almost as an employee in a way. Like it's acting on your behalf. It's communicating your brand for you. And like you said, if it's also bringing people closer to a strategic objective, all the better, because we have access to so much more in terms of technology and automation and things that actually can benefit us and do things for us versus just a static brochure or business card. I love that. So we can get people grounded. What are some examples of things that websites can do? Like, what are some of those actions?
Yeah. So my strongest thing that I always push on my clients is we want the website to be like an action-oriented goal. So that like providing information isn't an action-oriented thing. It'll happen naturally, but it really depends on like the goals of the business. So maybe you want to land more one-on-one clients. So maybe that action is booking a discovery call or filling out an intake form or just getting in touch with you. For other people who are interested in growing an email list, maybe that action is the person taking a quiz and getting on the email list, or the person downloading like an inspiration kit. So there's so many different ways depending on your goals, like what you have that person do. So it could be getting on your email list, booking a call, getting in touch with you. It depends on your goals, but it's always like that next step. It should be like that. They don't come to your website, like poke around and then leave and disappear. They've now like taken the next step to being closer to like the center of your orbit.
Yes. So important. I love that. I love that you underlined that people should take an action. Mm-hmm. You get to decide what that action is as the business owner, but get people to do something.
Yeah.
When are people ready to get a website built for them? Like, what are some of the foundational pieces they have to have in place before they're ready to hire somebody like you?
Yeah, definitely branding. Branding is a huge one. I've had a lot of clients come to me, and if they don't have branding already, that's something I offer them, but I don't let them skip that part. And I've had a couple people, and it's funny to see it when you're in it, and me doing it so much. I know, like, you need a brand. You can't build a website with no colors and no fonts and no guidance. But so many people will be like, I don't think we need that, right? Like, we can just make a website. And I'm like, no, we need like visual direction. We need to know who you are. And also your messaging. So copywriting is really helpful to have that done ahead of time and know like, what is the purpose? Like, what are you saying to these people? And bringing out like your values and your services and communicating that really well is helpful to do that before as well. Because a lot of times you may have like if you imagine building out a website with no words and a lot of like placeholder, you're trying to fit what you want to say into like these little confined spaces. And you're like, well, I wanted to say more, but I don't have space. So I'll just not. But like maybe what you're going to say was really important. So it's nice to just kind of freely write in like a Google Doc or something and let it all out. And then turn that into design.
I know that a lot of people run into that same challenge when they try to build a website from a template. Mm-hmm. And yes, like templates can be thought of really strategically and they have all of the right elements, like the wireframe is strong and strategic. But even so, I know like when we've collaborated on sales pages before, the ones that are the best and the ones that work the best, not just look the best, but work the best, convert the highest, are the ones where we wrote the copy first. And this can be like a little bit of an angsty moment for entrepreneurs who value speed and just want like everything to be done all at once. But I have seen the proof that that is absolutely true.
Yeah. I remember working on your Convert with a Quiz page and you sent over the Google Doc of the writing. And it was, at first it was like so fun. I was reading through it and I got so excited because like the way it was written was so fun. But then that just gives me, it like removes the shackles when it comes to design. Like I can be as creative as I want because I already see how it's written. I already see like, okay, we're going to need a section here, a 2-section here, like things like that. Whereas the other way around, maybe you design it and then I get the copy and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 3 times as long as I thought it was going to be. I don't have room for this. Yeah. So it's so helpful to do that ahead of time. And it just makes it easier too. Like it makes the whole process, I know when it comes to like website strategy and like starting a website, everyone wants to jump in with the pretty stuff. They want to jump in with the colors and the pictures and all like the fun stuff. And like, even I like doing that. Like I love getting to the pretty stuff, but like the sites that you pause and think about your goals and like draft out how you want to set things up. Like what pages do I want? What order do I want people to go through these pages? What's the whole point? What's the goal? When you do all of that ahead of time and just kind of pump the brakes just for a minute and work through that stuff, then like when you actually do design, it ends up being easier. Like it just flows a lot easier, and you're not like doing something and then being like, oh, why was I doing that? Like, cause you kind of just start and forget like where was I going with this? But when you already have like this strategy outlined, you don't forget where you're going because you already ironed that out. So it just makes it so much easier, so much more efficient, and just more effective in the end. So yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh, I love that. Now that we covered some tangible stuff, I want to take a little bit of a detour. You have a really interesting story about how you got into this work. And I would love if you tell a little bit about your origin story as a brand.
Yeah. So I actually started out in engineering. I went to college and I got a 4-year bachelor's in engineering, and I loved it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go back for my master's. So I went back for my master's. And when you're in grad school for engineering, you're there year round. And I had 2 friends in college who were like, hey, during summer, we're going to go on this 5-week trip to South America, to Peru and Ecuador. You should come. And I was like, why would I want to do that? Like I had no like really travel experience or anything like that at the time. And I honestly didn't even know if Peru and Ecuador were in Asia. Like I had no idea. I was like, why would I want to do that? And then they started showing me like pictures of what they were going to be doing. And they took me to Applebee's happy hour. And after a few margaritas and half-priced apps, I was calling my parents and was like, hey guys, I think I'm going to go to South America for 5 weeks this summer. And they were like, what? And so I did. And it was awesome. It was like, my one friend is a big traveler. So she was like our guide and our confidence, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so we were there for 5 weeks. And I remember not only just being like completely captivated by traveling and all the amazing things we did, but like the people we met. I remember one of the very common questions people were asking was like, how long are you traveling for? And me being an American was like, I'm traveling for 5 weeks. Like I didn't know anyone, like my parents, my cousins. I didn't know anyone who traveled that long in their whole life. And I was like, 5 weeks. And people are like, 5 weeks? Like what? And they're like, I'm traveling for 5 months. And I was like, excuse me? Like, what's happening? So that was my first like intro into like opening my eyes to the rest of the world, where they travel so much. They have so much more like freedom and time to take time off. And it's not like this taboo thing to just peace out and go travel for a bit. So that really like opened my eyes to that. So then I went back to grad school, finished out grad school, started my career. And like I said, in school, I always loved what I did. So once I got into my career, I was so excited. It was the exact job I wanted. But then I just really quickly like started kind of spiraling about the whole like 10 days off a year. And I was like, 10 days a year, like that's not a lot of time. And that's going to be that way for decades. Like maybe I'll get 15 days another year, but it just like was really uncomfortable. And then other things started happening, and I just started on the side learning how to do websites, because the same friends wanted to start a travel blog. So we were like, let's build a travel blog. And it got put on my plate. And I was like, all right, let me figure this out. And that was my first website, and built that out, started doing that on the side for like clients while I was at my other job, like on the weekends and stuff. And then I just kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, the 9-to-5 structure with what I had was just like not going to work for me. I was very unhappy, and like I'm a big like do what works for you type of person. And I know like there's so many pros and cons to the 9-to-5 versus not. Like they all have their benefits. And I was like, this just isn't going to work for me. So I left. I left my job in the end of 2018, I believe, and started full-time in website design, and have been doing it since.
Oh, I love that story so much. And the other thing I love about you, Corine, is that you have now instilled that value of freedom and time freedom and being outside into your current business. Can you share a little bit about how you do that?
A lot of like entrepreneurs, business owners, we all have like metrics, like your revenue goals and things like that. So for me, I think it was last year I started measuring like my days off. I was like, the whole point of starting my business was to have this freedom and these days off. And so I started measuring it, and I was like, I need to make sure I'm actually doing the thing that I said I was going to do. And so last year I had 40 days off, which ends up being like 8 work weeks. So I was super excited about that. And this year I'm hoping to achieve the same. And it's been actually great that I'm measuring it, because I'm realizing I'm not. I'm like, okay, I gotta pump up the days off, gotta do more.
Yes.
So I measured that. This year it's more of like a personal goal, but I downloaded an app called 1,000 Hours Outside. And the goal is to be outside for 1,000 hours, which for me, I was like doing the math and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. Let me aim for like 500 in my first year. So I did that. And then I also set up my projects for my clients in a way that is like built around this idea of freedom, because not only do I value that, but my clients do too. So my project process, a lot of times when you work with a website designer, and I just want to preface this with, there's no wrong way. It's what works best for you. But a lot of times when people work with a website designer or an agency, you kind of start out and say, our project is going to start here. It'll finish when it finishes. And that could be like a month or 2 months, but sometimes it ends up being like 6 months. And I've heard of people doing their website for like 2 years. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so daunting. I don't want that. And my clients don't want that either. So I set up my project in a way where we have a definitive start date, we have a definitive end date. And I've done it so many times that I have this process that's very repeatable, which is so nice, because I can tell people like, this is your launch date. Start like making a party, like put it in your calendar, be excited about it. So then they know like, okay, we're going to start here and end here. And then you just really focus on it during that period of time, and it doesn't drag out. It doesn't flow into a vacation that you had planned. It doesn't turn into weekends working on it and stuff. So it's really designed initially selfishly for myself, because I was like, I need my projects to be predictable. But then my clients were like, this is so nice. Like, I know exactly when it's going to be done. So that's I've kind of baked it into my business in a lot of ways, which is a cool thing about entrepreneurship, is being able to set things up in a way that work for you and then ebb and flow and change them with time. So
yes. And the best brands have those values infused into everything that they do, like you are doing. It's not just this marketing message that we're slapping over the top or putting on the headline of a website. It's literally infused into the product that you sell to people, the way that you create that product for people, and everything in between. So I love that about you so much. And I'm totally in awe of the fact that you can have a start and an end date. We moved away from agency website builds at Kaye & Co for that reason. They just would keep going on and on and on. I never really mastered that system, and I'm creating much better results for my clients now that I've carved out this like very clear VIP experience that we do with people. And I love that you've done that same thing in your offer. That's amazing. Do you have any words of wisdom for anybody that is looking to create stronger boundaries around their system or their process?
My biggest thing is automating your boundaries. Like, I am an Enneagram 2, which means I am a people pleaser and a helper to my core, which I like to believe is a good thing for my client experience, because I give and I want them to be so happy. Like, their results and their happiness and the whole experience is so important to me. But that also means that sometimes I violate my own boundaries. Like, sometimes people don't even ask me to do that, and I just do it. And I'm like, why did you do that? So I found that automating my boundaries is really helpful. And like, what I mean by that is I have in my process, so normally a website is, depending on the scope of it, let's say it's just 3 weeks for the sake of discussion. In there, we have like built-in deadlines, and the deadlines are like automatically communicated to the client. So they get reminders, and in those reminders, like, me when I was creating the process was like writing out like, remember that this is due by then, and if it's not done by such and such a time, then XYZ can happen. But I don't have to do that every time, because it just does it for me. So that like having those automated reminders with the kind but firm boundary of what happens if they don't meet that is really helpful. And then another thing that I do, and I schedule emails. So I don't like clients to know if I'm working really late at night. But sometimes I am. Sometimes I took the day off, I went hiking, and then I'm working at night.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to know that I'm working at 10 o'clock at night or to email me at 10 o'clock at night and expect an immediate answer. So I will write out the email. If I'm working during like typical off hours, I'll write out the email and then I schedule it to send during working hours. So that helps me a lot too, because then it's like, it's off my mind, it's complete, but it's not showing up at their inbox at midnight and they're like, ooh, she was working late. I can just email her whenever I want. Like you can, but I just don't want that expectation of answering at all hours. So
100%. I love that you've thought through each of the steps and like each of the the touch points of communication in advance. I think not only is that giving you that benefit of creating those boundaries and communicating them clearly, which is a benefit to both sides, but you also got to think in advance, be like, okay, what's truly necessary to create the results, to create the outcome, the transformation that I'm promising to people, and where can I fit that in the process? I think a lot of people, when they are doing like quote unquote custom projects, they just are reacting to whatever's in front of them at any given point, and that may or may not lead to this desired big transformation that you're trying to get people to. So there's multiple layers of benefits with the way that you're doing that. It's so freaking smart. I love it so much. Do you have any other ways that you've increased your amount of flexibility or freedom in your business that you can think of?
I know one thing that I've been wanting to incorporate in the future, and I told myself I was going to do that this summer and I did not, was doing summer hours. So that's like another thing that I want to do. We live in a beautiful place and we have lakes and mountains and hiking and boating and just awesome things in the summer. So I've wanted to incorporate summer hours where I'm working like Monday to Thursday from maybe Memorial Day to Labor Day or whatever that is. So that is one thing I would like to incorporate into the future, but I did not successfully achieve that this year.
I love that. And I highly suggest that you do not wait for next summer. One of the best things that I've done is to block calls away from Mondays and Fridays. It doesn't mean that I don't work on Mondays and Fridays all of the time, but sometimes I don't. And sometimes I go F off for a while. It's glorious. I love it.
Yeah, I have a nice little like F off buffer. That's so nice.
Yes. Amazing. What's been your favorite adventure that you've been on recently?
So back in March, one of my like online business friends, her name is Morgan. She lives in Houston, Texas. Her and I have met. We met online through entrepreneurship, and then she's come up to visit me, I think twice now. And so back in March, I was like itching to get out because like February, March, where we live is like this blah season. And I was like, ugh, I need to like go somewhere and stretch my legs and get out. And I checked on Kayak and I found a really cheap flight. I screenshotted it. I sent it to her and she was like, book it. And I was like, really? So I booked it and I went and stayed with her in Houston for a week. And we like co-worked, and also it was like a vacation, but also like working together, which is really nice to just kind of work in the company of other people. So we did that. We walked along like this bayou in Houston, and I'm not a city person. So for me to have enjoyed this trip like says a lot. Like we had a blast. We like walked, I think it was like 8 miles one day round trip just to go to like a brewery. And it was like beautiful weather, so sunny. And it was just a totally different type of adventure for me. Like most of the times I'm hiking, or like yesterday I took the day off and was driving around our lake, which is a really big lake. And I was looking for like little hidden nuggets for us to take like engagement pictures. So that was fun too. Like I took the dogs and we had a great day. So, but yeah, it was a different type of adventure for me. That was just really nice. It was nice to just be able to go and do that.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that. You told me about it when it happened, and it is such a good idea because not only do you get a break in your routine and you get like re-energized from being around another entrepreneur, but it's a business write-off. So you can have this like beautiful break away from your day-to-day life, and it can be for the intent and purpose of your business and growing your business and get the tax benefit from that.
Yeah.
Not an accountant, obviously, or a tax strategist, but I love that dual-sided benefit of that idea. So amazing. As you know, because you've been in my space, in my orbit, we love to learn. What has been the most pivotal course, book, podcast? Like, what's a resource that you can recommend that has changed your life and your business the most?
Without missing a beat, I can answer as brand new brand. And I'm like, it's like, I love telling you that every time. And I just want you to like hop off this call and go sit on the couch and remember that it's like so true. Like it changed so much for me. Like discovering my archetypes was great. Like not great. It was more than great. It was like, so it was like this little switch that was like, oh my gosh, everything makes sense. And then going through brand new brands, like that was just so impactful. I still go back into my brand book. I can't remember when I took brand new brand. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago now. And I still go back into it. And I'm still like, when like something hits me, I like add it in, and it's so helpful. So like, and it's cool because going through brand new brand and learning like the images was a really helpful lesson for me, where we're learning like image do's and image don'ts. Like that is so ingrained in me now that it's just second nature. Like when I'm looking through stock photos and I'm like, okay, I need a stock picture for this. And I'm looking through and I'm like, nope, that's not it. Like it's so easy just to call it out and recognize it. And it's made everything like so second nature. So that's my answer.
I did not know she was going to say that.
Nope, she did not.
Oh, amazing. Yes. I love how many, just to toot my own horn for just 1 second, but like how many courses have you gone through where like the asset or the intel is something that you continue to use for years and years and years? That's my favorite thing about brand building in general, is that this work has longevity. Same with what we were talking about with investing in a website in the beginning of this call. This work has longevity. It continues to grow your momentum over time when you do it right. So thank you. Thank you so much.
And like you said, when the courses that you build this asset are the ones that just, it makes so much of a difference. I can say yours, and then Copywriting for Creatives was a copywriting program. And both of those programs, you start with this base knowledge and you're learning and then building this asset out. Like you get this, like this file and you're like, how am I going to do all of this? And then at the end, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's like this gold mine of information that has all come from you. So yeah, it's been so helpful.
Yeah. Who teaches Copywriting for Creatives?
That's Ashlyn Carter. Ashlyn Carter.
Oh yeah. I love her. Her brand is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Really great recommendations. And then last question, if you had the possibility or if you had the power to instill either a belief or some kernel of knowledge in every person's mind that's watching this right now, what would you want everybody to know?
I think it's something that I really just like live by a lot. And the phrase is you make the rules, but what that means is like, there's so many different paths in business or in your career or entrepreneurship or in life that people will recommend to you because it worked for them. So they're like, oh, you have to be an entrepreneur, or you have to do such and such with your one-on-one service or whatever that is. And like, if you want to, sure, do it. But if it's like you're doing it and you hate it, like stop doing that. Like for me, that was social media. And I kind of go through like this little roller coaster of a relationship with social media. Sometimes I enjoy it and I'll do it for a couple of months. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't like it anymore. And then I just stop. But some people will tell you like have to be on social media. You have to do 1 post a day, 3 stories a day, a reel, like all these benchmarks. And I just am like a do what works for you type of person. You get to make the rules and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Such good advice. I love that so much. And it's something that I need to be reminded of often. So thank you.
Yeah.
I think that we all need to be reminded of
Me
that.
too.
It's like you became an entrepreneur for this. Just like we're talking about with your days off. It's like, make sure that you're actually enjoying the benefit of being an entrepreneur and being your own boss.
Yeah.
Love that. Where can people get more of you and learn from you?
So you can find all sorts of stuff on my website at CorinePettit.com. And then also on Instagram. Right now I'm on a little break, but I'm sure I'll be back sometime. That's at Corine.Pettit.
Thank you so much for spending the time, Corine. This was so valuable and so fun. I appreciate you endlessly, as you know, as I hope that you know.
Thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure and an honor to hang out.
I hope you love Corine as much as I do. And if you want more of her, definitely check out her website. But also, if you join me in the Brand Clarity Collective, you are going to get an all access pass to 2 of the things that we talked about. First, you get the full brand new brand curriculum, that amazing system that Corine mentioned has been so pivotal in building her own brand. And then also you get access to a guest speaking workshop that Corine hosted for us on how to build your strategic website. You get all of my best brand building curriculum, and then also this mastermind with group coaching, guest experts, and networking with like-minded peers. All of that is in the Brand Clarity Collective waiting for you now. And like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, Corine is directly responsible for how beautiful and brilliant our Brand Clarity Collective sales page is. She is the mastermind behind that design and many others on the kayeputnam.com website. Or if you're newer in business and you want to uncover what your brand innate advantage is and what your core brand values are, I recommend starting with a brand quiz that's on my website. It's kayeputnam.com/quiz. All of these links are in the show notes ready for you on my website. That quiz will point you to your primary brand archetype, which helps you understand your innate strengths and what makes you amazing and what is going to light you up in your brand and your business. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, leave me a rating and review. My heart just sings every time I see those 5-star reviews and read your kind words. I'm a words of affirmation love language girl. You have no idea how much I appreciate you. And as an added benefit, you're helping more entrepreneurs like yourself find this content, find this show so that they can grow their brand, get their genius out of their brains so that they can serve and impact the world in the way that they are meant to serve and impact. Thanks for being here. I'll see you guys next time.